Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we are going to be going over a fully updated guide to acquiring some of the most asked about materials in the game. The last few seasons have added more ways to get some of these materials, and I'm going to go over every way I know of to farm Enhancement Cores, Enhancement Prisms, Ascendant Shards, Glimmer, and Legendary Shards in Season of the Lost. I highly encourage anyone that has any tips that they use that I don't cover in this video to leave those tips in the comments below, so we can all help each other get more of these highly sought after materials. Starting with Enhancement Cores, the most direct path is going to be from completing Gunsmith and Spider bounties. There are a number of bounties you can complete from both of these NPCs, and you will always be able to use multiple characters as well to complete these bounties multiple times if you are so inclined. You can also get Enhancement Cores randomly when deleting Legendary gear. So if you have extra Legendary gear that you aren't using, I would highly recommend dismantling them and seeing if you can't get lucky to get some Enhancement Cores. When ranking up your Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit vendors, you will also get Enhancement Cores from your rank ups at rank 4, as well as have the chance to get extra Enhancement Cores when opening up Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit engrams. And once you've reset your rank at least one time, you will get even more Enhancement Cores for subsequent rank ups at rank 7 and rank 10. For those in a clan, and I would highly recommend finding and joining one even if it's not the most active or you don't play with the people all the time, just for this perk and a couple other clan perks, you can get extra Enhancement Cores when completing clan vendor challenges once your clan has reached at least rank 4. You can also get Enhancement Cores from Legend and Master Lost sectors. And while I wouldn't recommend going to do these just solely for the Enhancement Cores, if you are looking to get other exotic drops, either ones you don't already have, or just trying to get higher rolls on exotics for a certain day, it doesn't hurt to get some Enhancement Cores on the side as well. You can also get Enhancement Cores from the Nightfall playlist on both the Adept and Hero difficulty. Both of these difficulties have matchmaking on, so you can do them as a solo player very easily. Adept will be at 1250 power, while Hero is at 1290 power. Just make sure that if you are doing the Hero version at 1290, know that these will have champions in the Nightfall, and as we've all run into, or at least a lot of us have probably run into, people like to not use champion mods, so make sure you're not one of those people. Put on your overloads, put on your barrier, put on unstoppable if that happens to be the weak. Check out the mission modifiers on the right. It will tell you which champions you need to deal with, make sure you have the weapons that you need to deal with them, make sure you have the mods on your arms that you need to deal with those champions. You'll be good to go. A lot of Enhancement Cores can drop from here. You can also get a rare chance at Prisms, an uncommon chance at exotic gear, and you also have the Nightfall weapon chance as well for whatever Nightfall weapon is dropping that week. Also note that even though it doesn't show it anywhere, Master Vault of Glass does have a chance from every single encounter to drop an Enhancement Core, but I definitely wouldn't recommend doing this just for Enhancement Cores. I will talk about Vault of Glass and Master Vault of Glass specifically a little bit later in the video and how it can be pretty useful for some other materials, but Enhancement Cores, there's much easier and much just frankly better ways to go about getting them. We've also got a splattering of Enhancement Cores in the Season Pass each season. As you can see throughout, we have 5 Enhancement Cores dropping at various levels. Some are even in the free track for those that do not buy the seasons or buy the Season Pass. You will obviously get a lot more if you have the bottom track, which is the seasonally purchased track. But again, decent amount of Enhancement Cores. You're getting 5 each time. If you add up all these, I didn't do the math, but sounds or seems like it's about 40 to 50 maybe. There's one final trick I want to mention for those that may have a decent amount of Enhancement Prisms, but don't have a lot of Enhancement Cores. If you go to your armor and go to the leveling tab, you can buy any of this blue armor here, and any blue armor should work. I just usually go to this tab for this specific blue armor. You want to purchase it. It will come at 5 energy, and you need to upgrade this up until 8 energy. You're going to use a couple Enhancement Cores, you're going to use 3 Enhancement Cores there, you're going to use 1 Prism, and that's the biggest cost, is that 1 Prism there. And then you're going to go back in your inventory, dismantle it, and you will notice that you get your 3 Enhancement Cores back, plus another 3, for a total of 6. Get a Gunsmith material and some Glimmer, but you're using more than that to get it up. But the biggest exchange there is the fact that you can use an Enhancement Prism to get an extra 3 Enhancement Cores. And note that Enhancement Prisms have a cap of 50 in your inventory. You can also have more in your Postmaster or in other characters' Postmasters, but at absolute max, you could hold 200 if you had 50 in your inventory and 50 in all 3 Postmasters. For Enhancement Cores, there's no cap. You can have however many you want. It's going to be, I believe, 999 per stack in each spot, so you're going to run out of inventory space eventually. However, you can also put those cores in your vault. As you will see, I have 5 stacks of them. So you can, again, I'm in a position where I don't necessarily technically need more enhancement cores, but if you do not have the enhancement cores you're needing, Enhancement Prism trading, so to speak, for more enhancement cores is going to be very, very beneficial in terms of being able to max out on things that you are currently capped on. And finally, we have ghost mods, which, if you don't know, these ghost mods have been upgraded hugely in the last year or so. And there are a lot of very useful ghost mods that I'm going to go over most, if not all of them, in this video. But if you're looking for enhancement cores specifically, if you're playing Crucible, you can use the Lesser Core Harvest mod, which will allow Precision Final Blows to give you a chance to award an enhancement core. If you're playing Gambit, you can use the Lesser Core Harvest Gambit mod, which allows for defeating invaders in Gambit to have a chance to award an enhancement core. And for strikes or Vanguard playlist activities, as well as Nightfalls, you have the Lesser Core Harvest for Vanguard, which allows for defeating bosses in Vanguard playlist strikes or Nightfalls to have a chance to, again, award an enhancement core. So if you're low on enhancement cores, if you're playing strikes, you're playing Gambit, you're playing Crucible, you're getting the rank ups in all of those for the enhancement cores that you get for those rank ups and from those packages, you can also slap one of these on, get even more enhancement cores. That's going to allow us to transition straight into Enhancement Prisms, which has a lot of similar places to get Enhancement Prisms as we did for Enhancement Cores. Well, let's go over some of them. Again, with the Ghost mods, we have Greater Core Harvest for Crucible, Greater Core Harvest for Gambit, and Greater Core Harvest for Strikes, which are all the same ways of acquiring those Enhancement Prisms as the cores were. Again, bosses from Strikes, invaders for Gambit, and Precision Final Blows for Crucible. Banshee, again, will give you the opportunity to get some Enhancement Prisms. This time you're going to need quite a few Enhancement Cores to upgrade, though. You're going to need 10 Enhancement Cores, 25 Planetary Material, and 10,000 Glimmer to go from Cores to Prisms. If you're in a position where you have a lot of Cores but don't have Prisms, this is a great way to transfer from Cores to Prisms. As I showed you guys just a little bit ago, you can also go the other way using the blue armor trick. Also note that there are 2 different planetary materials here that rotate every day. You got Etheric Spiral and Glacial Starwort today, but these will rotate, and if you don't have these materials, you can look for a day that you do have materials. And also note that Spider, who we're going to go to in a second, also sells these planetary materials on a rotating basis. As mentioned, we are now at Spider, and he does sell Enhancement Prisms directly as well, just like Banshee. However, he requires 400 Legendary Shards to buy 1 Enhancement Prism. This is very expensive, although if you are someone that does have a lot of Legendary Shards and really just does not have any Enhancement Prisms, obviously it could be worth it for you, but in most cases, I would say this is probably going to be out of the reach for most players. You got 400 Legendary Shards for 1 Enhancement Prism. 400 Legendary Shards is a good chunk of Legendary Shards, but the option is here. I want to go over every possible option that I know of for you guys to get these materials. Now for one of, if not almost certainly the best ways to get Enhancement Prisms, and that is through Nightfalls. Again, we can start with the hero version, which, as I mentioned earlier, is open for solo players. You don't need to find people to play with or anything. There is matchmaking that is on. Again, the prisms here are going to be rare. You're going to get less prisms from the hero Nightfall than you will get from Legend, and especially Master. You're going to get a lot of prisms if you do find a team and do these higher level Nightfalls. But again, hero can drop prisms, and remember, like we saw at the Gunsmith, that you can technically also take cores and transmat them into prisms as well, if needed. The other thing I will note about Nightfalls is looking for the double loot weeks is going to be super duper beneficial. If you don't know, every now and then Bungie announces that there is double loot for the entire week for Nightfalls on any playlist. I believe usually you do need to make sure you do the platinum version of the Nightfalls, which all that means is you need to make sure that every single champion dies in the Nightfall. So if you see a champion, make sure you kill it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, make sure you have the champion mods. It's going to make that a lot easier, but double loot's going to make your life infinitely better when it comes to some of these materials. And as well, look, especially if it happens to be during a good week, We do already know which Nightfalls are dropping this season, as we can see on the Conqueror title. So if you happen to get double loot on a Lake of Shadows this season at any point, that's going to be a week to go ham and do a lot of Nightfalls if at all possible. Lake of Shadows is almost certainly the shortest strike in all of the game, and one of the easiest ones as well. Just note that if we get Lake of Shadows double loot, go ham, get loot. But honestly, double loot on most of these, Corrupted might be a little spooky, but you know, double loot. Double loot's double loot, and that's going to be pretty good. Again, coming back to Master Vogue as an option for Enhancement Prisms as well, as I mentioned for Enhancement Cores. Just like before, I wouldn't necessarily come to Master Vogue specifically for Enhancement Cores or Enhancement Prisms, or Ascendant Shards, as I'll mention in a little bit. However, there is going to be a strategy that I will mention during the Ascendant Shards part that I think is reasonably worth doing later this season. As with Enhancement Cores, you are also going to get some Enhancement Prisms when doing your rank ups for Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. For your first rank up through until you reset your whatever, Valor or whatever the strike stuff is called now, I don't know if it actually has a name, or Infamy, you are going to get Enhancement Prisms at rank 10. And once you've reset once, and for all subsequent resets, you will get Enhancement Prisms at rank 13. Also note that new for this season, Saint 14 is going to allow you to get Enhancement Prisms as well at rank 7 for your first Trials of Osiris rank up. I don't know how these are going to work, as this is a new system for this season, but Trials of Osiris is coming out this Friday as of the making of this video, and if you are someone that likes PvP and likes Trials, you're going to get some pretty damn good rewards here. You got Enhancement Prism, you got an Ascendant Shard, which again I'll be talking about in just a bit, and some Trials weapons as well. Also note that even for you solo players out there, the Trials of Osiris is supposed to now have the ability to play as a solo player. Again, don't know exactly how that's going to work yet either. The way I understand it is you will be match made with other groups of 3, so it may not be the most beneficial way of going about things in terms of winning and that type of thing, but if you're looking to get your feet wet, I'd go in there. I'm definitely planning on doing some myself. And again, just like Enhancement Cores, we do have a few Enhancement Prisms on the Season Pass, with 3 at rank 60, as well as 3 at rank 70. I feel like there used to be more than this. It may have replaced some, but again, 6 Enhancement Prisms is 6 Enhancement Prisms that you would not have otherwise. Also, don't forget about Empire Hunts, which will drop Enhancement Cores, as I didn't mention before, as well as Enhancement Prisms at Hero, Legend, and Master difficulty. In most cases, I feel like people are going to want to run Nightfalls instead of Empire Hunts, as they can drop exotics and Ascendant Shards at the higher levels, and also can have double loot weeks and all of that type of stuff. However, if you are potentially also looking for high stat armor and only have the ability to matchmake, or you don't want to use LFG or any of those other outside resources, you can have the chance to go for high stat armor, Enhancement Cores, and Enhancement Prisms all in matchmaking on the Hero difficulty in Empire Hunts. As we've mentioned a few times, we're going to go into Ascendant Shards next, with the absolute #1 best way of getting Ascendant Shards being Nightfalls. Again, if you can do this in a double loot week, even better, but you need to be doing at least the Master Nightfall, so this is definitely going to be something where you are going to want a team, but as long as you can get 2 other players, you can go into the Master Nightfall. It doesn't really require communication as long as you guys have the champion stuff and kind of have a general idea of what you're going to be doing and have a reasonable level as well. Note that Master level stuff is 1350, so you're going to want to be reasonably close to 1350 to go into Master, but you have an uncommon chance to get Ascendant Shards in Master, which I feel like it's much higher than that. I know it says uncommon, but especially if you're doing Platinum, which again is making sure you're killing every single champion, I feel like most times, more often than not, you're going to get an Ascendant Shard in Master, again, especially in a double loot week. And then, later this season, we have Grandmaster Nightfalls coming on October 5th, and again, for these, you are going to be required to be 1345 to even enter, but if you are someone that likes doing difficult content and goes into the Grandmaster Nightfalls, you're actually guaranteed to get an Ascendant Shard, as long as, again, you do the Platinum difficulty and killing every single champion. You're guaranteed an Ascendant Shard from every single Grandmaster that you do, and you're guaranteed at least 2 when doing that on a double loot week. And you can actually, I believe, get up to 4 in a double loot week in one run for Ascendant Shards, which, again, for a lot of people, getting 4 Ascendant Shards ever is, like, mind-blowing. And you could potentially get 4 in 1 week, and if it's something like Lake of Shadows, that's a run that you could probably do in 20 minutes or so, probably even less if you're really, know what's going on and perfecting your builds. Like, I'm sure there's going to be people out there that can do it in less than 10 minutes, to be honest. But even if you're taking your time, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, even 30 minutes, 4 Ascendant Shards, even if you only get 2 or 3, be on the lookout for that. Seriously, be on the lookout for those double loot weeks. Get into the Master Nightfall, get into the Grandmaster Nightfall. Even if you do the lower difficulties, you can get Enhancement Prisms, you can get Enhancement Cores, which is going to allow us to transition into the next part, which is Banshee. Let's talk about Banshee. As with Enhancement Cores and Enhancement Prisms, Banshee also gives you the option to get Ascendant Shards. For Banshee, you're going to need 10 Enhancement Prisms, 100 Planetary Materials, and 50,000 Glimmer to get 1 Ascendant Shard. Pretty expensive, for sure, but there is a lot of ways to get Planetary Materials, Glimmer, and even Enhancement Prisms that we've gone over that require less super endgame content versus Master Nightfalls or Grandmaster Nightfalls. So if you're more able to get more Enhancement Prisms and can kind of farm out that Glimmer, doing whatever the heck you want, and get some of those Planetary Materials from either Spider or even, again, farming those out, you can get Ascendant Shards basically through any way that you want by buying them from Banshee. You're now also going to be able to get up to 4 Ascendant Shards per season if you max out your rank for Strikes, Crucible, Gambit, and Trials of Osiris. Note that once you have ranked this up to 16 all the way, and you take your Ascendant Shard, the next time around you're just going to get a random exotic instead. But you can get 1 Ascendant Shard for Strikes, for Crucible, for Gambit, and for Trials if you rank them up all the way. So, again, Trials may be a little bit spookier. The other 3, go into your matchmaking stuff, get it done. Like that is the #1 way for anybody to get a few Ascendant Shards. Again, it's 3 or 4 over 16 ranks. That's not a lot. It's going to take a lot longer, and if you can get yourself to doing Master Nightfalls and GM Nightfalls, that's going to be the really, really, really time-efficient way and really, really great way. But if you're either lower level or just don't want to go through the struggle of having to find people to play with, going to be a great way to get some Ascendant Shards here as well. So I've mentioned Master Vogue a few times, and now here for Ascendant Shards is where it gets a little bit more interesting. As I've mentioned, any encounter that drops loot in Master Vogue can have a chance to drop Enhancement Cores, Enhancement Prism, Ascendant Shards. Now, the problem is you don't know which one you're going to get. However, the positive is that you can run it as much as you want for any week and continue to potentially be getting that loot. You don't have to actually have loot, you can stay on the same character, you can keep running the same thing, and that's where we come into play with Templar. Now, as a lot of you may know, there is normal Templar is a place where a lot of people like to farm Spoils of Conquest. And this season, because it's a very long season, we're going to have 6 months, I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to get reasonably close to 1360, especially later this season. Again, this tip is going to be probably for a couple months down the line, but keep it in mind for if you're still looking for Ascendant Shards then. If you're getting close to 1360, and you've got some of the pretty solid weapons, again, 1k Sleeper with Catalyst especially, or even one of the better legendary linear fusions, all of those are looking like they're going to be pretty good damage weapons for this season. Got some of that stuff, go and do the same thing. Go into Master Templar, do Master Templar checkpoints. You can get your Spoils of Conquest the same way, and now you can also get Enhancement Cores, Enhancement Prisms, Ascendant Shards, and if you got some of the stuff that you should be running for that, again, once people are a bit higher level, I feel like that's going to be possibly even more efficient than GMs. Maybe not quite to that extent, just because, again, we don't know which material you're going to get. But I ran quite a few Master Templars to help people get their Time Lost Fatebringer last season, and I was getting Ascendant Shards pretty often. Especially if you're multitasking a bit, like you also need some Spoils of Conquest, or you need to get your Time Lost Fatebringer anyway, so you're going to run that to get your one, or whatever else. Like if you're trying to multitask some different materials, great way to do so. Next, we're going to talk about Glimmer and Legendary Shards. But before we do that, I want to talk about 3 tips to really help you continue to hold your Glimmer and Legendary Shards and not stop wasting them versus getting more. We're going to talk about getting more here in a second, but I want to start with this. First, we have upgrade modules, right? And so you need an upgrade module every time you infuse something. And so every time you infuse something, you are using 1 enhancement core, 10 legendary shards, 25 materials, and 5,000 glimmer. And, you know, one time, that's not a lot. You know, that's fine. But there's people that will literally go through and every single weapon, like, if they get a higher level, like if I had this 1320 and I wanted to infuse this 1326, like, they'll just infuse across the board, every single thing. It doesn't matter if it's 1 point higher, 2 points higher, doesn't matter. They'll infuse every single time, every weapon, every armor piece, and making sure that they're always have the highest stuff equipped. You do not need to do that. If you want to play like that, if you want to do that, be my guest, play the game how you want to play it. However, if you're someone that is constantly low on materials and you're wondering why, this is probably the #1 aspect of why that is. Because you are using 10 legendary shards, again, the 5,000 glimmer, the enhancement core, the other planetary materials. That stuff is a little bit less, but especially if you're someone that's low on legendary shards, that's the main culprit. Because not only are you using those 10 legendary shards, but actually you're technically using 14. Because I have to infuse something to infuse it, right? Like, I need something that is higher level. And so I'm not only losing those 10 legendary shards that I bought the upgrade module with, I'm now also losing a legendary. Like, I'm taking 2 legendaries and making it 1. And if I were to instead dismantle that legendary down the line when I got a 1328, let's say, instead of a 1326, or a 1330 instead of a 1329, whatever it is, I'm basically using the 10 legendary shards plus another 4 for 14 legendary shards. Because again, legendaries or exotics, when you break them down, I'll just break this down. I was kind of thinking about keeping it, but that's fine. 4 legendary shards. Like, you're just losing legendary shards every single time. And if you do that for all 8 pieces, back to back to back, in just like one foul swoop, that'd be 14 times 8. Quick math, that's 80 and 32, 112. 112 legendary shards to do that one time on one character across all 8 of your pieces. So I promise you, there's going to be a lot of people watching this. I promise you that is a big ticket item. Now, our other 2 tips are going to be more about hoarding your Glimmer a bit more. And so my first one is looking at repeatable bounties. I like to talk about repeatable bounties for XP. It's a great resource. You can continue to just keep getting XP and doing bounties and bounties and bounties. Everybody knows XP is great through bounties. However, 2 things with that. The daily bounties actually give more XP than the repeatable bounties, so focusing on dailies and potentially just rotating characters to get more daily bounties in is going to be better for XP you're getting. Plus, if you've noticed when you look closely here, these daily bounties, they all cost 250 Glimmer. Now look at the repeatable bounty. 3,000. 3,000 Glimmer per repeatable bounty. You can buy 5 of these for any one person at a time, so you can spend 15,000 Glimmer to get 5 repeatable bounties versus 1,000 Glimmer to buy 4 daily bounties. And, so, I mean, that's a big difference. That's a very big difference. If you're someone that already has a lot of Glimmer, just trying to farm out XP, repeatable bounties are wonderful. If you are someone that is really constantly hurting for Glimmer, again, look here for a reason that you may be really losing out on Glimmer. For you eagle-eye folk out there that watched the earlier parts of this video, you may have noticed that I have a whole bunch of Zavala's authorities in my vault. Why do I do this? Now, these are a specific ship that I use. There's also the other side Sparrow, a couple other things that you can use as well. What this is going to do is anytime you dismantle one, which we'll just waste one here, it is going to give me 5,000 Glimmer and 5 legendary shards back, basically. And so what I have to do to start, obviously, is to actually buy one of those other side Sparrows, or again, Zavala's Authority ships. Any ship or Sparrow or Ghost technically works for this. These are just some of the most efficient ones to use in terms of what you're actually getting back. I'm actually going to buy one. I'll show you here. So this costs 7,500 Glimmer and 5 legendary shards. As you just noticed a second ago, we got 5,000 Glimmer and 5 legendary shards back when we dismantled it. So what I do is I buy them, and then if I need more Glimmer, I can dismantle it later, right? So I'm losing 2,500 Glimmer in this exchange, you know, basic math. However, the Glimmer cap is at 250,000. So if I'm in a position where I have maximum Glimmer, 250,000, or even pretty close, I can buy out some of these Zavala's authorities, buy them, put them in the vault. As you can see that I have, I think like 2.5 pages worth or so now. I'd probably buy more, but I just, you know, vault space. Yeah, we got almost exactly 2.5 pages, but 125 or so Zavala's authorities. And Now I can have this Glimmer stored in my vault while continuing to get Glimmer while I'm playing, rather than being at that 250,000 cap, getting 0 Glimmer for any actions that I'm taking in the game, and also not having any of this extra Glimmer in reserves. So just another good tip. Now, as I promised, we're going to go over some ways to actually get more Glimmer and Legendary Shards, starting back with the Ghost Shell mods as we talked about earlier. We have the Glimmer Booster mods, which at 1 energy starts at 5% Glimmer gains, which is 5% is 5%. We can go up quite a bit. We got 10%, 20%, 35%, 50%, and even 65% Glimmer gains at 6 energy. These are huge. Like, if you need Glimmer, be running one of these. I know a lot of people like to have their Blinding Light mod on, which I am definitely one of them. I'm almost always running the 6 energy one. Even there, you know, run the 4 energy one. Have 35% Glimmer gain while also getting that bonus XP. If you're really, really hurting on Glimmer, you know, get 65% Glimmer and lower your experience mod down to 8%. You know, it's 4% difference, but you know, make sure you got the Glimmer on. Like the Glimmer is gonna be big. This is a huge mod. This is absolutely, you should be using this, even if you're using some of the other mods, which I'm going to mention more of these later. But if you're using the core ones or the prism ones I was talking about earlier, you kind of can't necessarily do all the same stuff here. But I tend to use some of these prosperity mods, which I will be mentioning in just a bit. But even there, you have 3 cost there. You have 6 cost here. You can still, I always have this 5% extra Glimmer. I have 1 extra mod spot or 1 extra energy cost spot. 5% Glimmer. Why not? Back in the Battle Pass, we have more just direct Glimmer that you can get from different rings. We have some 8,000 ones early on in the pass. We have a couple 6,000. We got 10,000 here, 10,000 on the left there, another 10,000, another 12,000. Again, not super exciting from the Battle Pass to just get Glimmer, but this stuff adds up. If you really need Glimmer, make sure you're ranking up your pass. Make sure you're using this effectively. A little bit extra Glimmer just directly from the pass. What's going to be a bit of a bigger boost from the Battle Pass is the Ritual Glimmer boost, which you get at rank 3 as long as you have the Battle Pass, so very early on. This is going to give you a Glimmer bonus when completing Crucible matches, Strikes, and Gambit matches, which, as we've talked about before, those are some of the best ways to get Enhancement Cores and Enhancement Prisms and Ascendant Shards. So not only are you getting the bonus for this Glimmer, you're getting some of those other materials. We're also going to talk about this for Legendary Shards as well. Those core playlists of Crucible, Strikes, and Gambit, absolutely some of the places you should be in. Also, some of the best places to be leveling up as well. And mixing and matching what you're doing, going to be even better in terms of getting some of those boosts in terms of powerful gear, in terms of pinnacle gear, as I've talked about in some of those guides. But play these activities, you'll get a good chunk of Glimmer, plus you get Glimmer just from killing enemies. Speaking of killing enemies, I don't know how many of you have 640 Rainmakers. Probably not quite this many, but I'm sure a lot of you have at least some of this consumable. If you're constantly using this consumable, you probably have Glimmer. But if you aren't using this or don't even know it exists, which half the time I forget it exists, the Rainmaker will give you 4 hours of precision kills, giving you a chance to create a shower of Glimmer. So if you're playing, you know, Strikes, Gambit, I don't know if this works in Crucible. I don't think it does. Maybe it does. I don't know. But Strikes or Gambit or any other PvE for sure activities in the game, kill stuff. I'm sure you'll get at least some precision kills during that. More Glimmer. You're stacking your Glimmer. You got the other boost. You got Glimmer from just enemies normally. Now you got extra Glimmer from precision kills. And if you want to keep multitasking and multi-stacking what you're doing, you also have the Glimmer Shard that you can buy from Eververse, which allows for defeated bosses to have a chance to create a shower of Glimmer for 4 hours. This is going to cost you some Bright Dust. 250 is not a ton, but I know a lot of people want to buy emotes or buy the exotic stuff with Bright Dust. So would I recommend using this? Probably not. But again, as I've mentioned earlier, want to go over all the ways that I know of to get you guys more materials. Now we've got my boy, the king of Glimmer, which is Spider. We've got multiple different ways to get Glimmer from Spider. We have these wanted bounties up top, which also drop Enhancement Cores, as I mentioned earlier, but you're going to get big chunks of Glimmer, 7,500 across the board for all of these bounties, with the final one actually dropping 15,000 Glimmer from doing these bounties. Again, this will also give you XP, that Enhancement Core, can get some multi-use out of doing some of these bounties up here. The more direct way of getting Glimmer here, though, is going to be by purchasing it, purchasing 10,000 Glimmer here. This is going to be rotating daily on what it costs. It will cost differing planetary materials that cost 20 each. You're going to need to use 20 planetary materials each for this. So as you're playing the game, as you're getting planetary materials, either again from the battle pass, running strikes, just getting them out in the world, lots of different ways to get Glimmer here, and you can get Glimmer super fast from just buying it directly from Spider. Obviously you need to actually have these materials to start, but this is going to be a great way to get Glimmer. Also note that at the bottom here, he also allows you to get Glimmer for sunset planetary materials. This is not going to be helpful for anyone that doesn't already have these, as you cannot get Phase Glass Needles, Alkane Dust, Simulation Seeds, or Seraphite anymore. These are all from planets that were sunset, but if you happen to still have some of these materials as I do, got a lot of Glimmer sitting here, to be honest, because that's 40 right there. That's 400,000 Glimmer, if I did the math right. That's 40, yeah. This is 400, just these Phase Glass Needles, I can get 400,000 Glimmer if I turn these in. Obviously I can't hold 400,000 Glimmer, but if I combined that with the whole ships trick we just talked about, might be a way for some people to get Glimmer that they didn't know they already had. Now we're going to go lastly to Legendary Shards, and starting again with the Ghost mods, and as briefly mentioned in the last section, we have the Prosperity mods, which, as other Ghost mods, have ones for Crucible, they have ones for Strikes, and they have ones for Gambit, and these are going to give you the opportunity to get additional pieces of Legendary gear. If you're not already aware, Legendary gear is where you're going to get Legendary Shards when you dismantle them, so the more Legendary gear you get, the more Legendary Shards you get. Pretty simple. So for Prosperity Gambit, you need to win in Gambit. For Strikes, this is probably the one I like the most because you just need to complete Strikes or Nightfalls versus winning in Gambit, and Crucible also requires winning, so Strikes are going to be really solid there, but if you're playing Crucible, you're playing Gambit, make sure to throw on the correct Prosperity mod. That's usually the situation I am running in. I like to run my 6 energy Blinding Light, my 1 energy Glimmer booster, and then I like to put on whichever Prosperity mod that I am playing the activity for. As we just mentioned, dismantling Legendary gear as well as exotic gear is going to give you Legendary Shards. That base rate is going to be 3 Legendary Shards when this stuff is dismantled. However, when you hit rank 20 on the Battle Pass, you can actually get a 4th Legendary Shard, which is a big boost. Going from 3 to 4 one time is not a lot, but if you start thinking about it bigger picture, you know, if you dismantle 10 pieces of gear, you're going from 30 to 40. If you dismantle 100 pieces of gear, you're going from 300 to 400 Legendary Shards. So, on a long enough timeline, this is huge. This is a huge deal. So, trying to get to rank 20 pretty early on in the season, which, again, rank 20 is not super high. Get there, get that extra Legendary Shard every time you dismantle stuff. That's going to be great. Now, as we've talked about multiple times, the core activities of Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit are once again going to be great for Legendary Shards. As we just talked about, the Ghost mods going to give you more chances at Legendary Shards. Just completing the activities, you have a good chance of getting Legendaries anyway. In terms of just killing enemies, always have the chance for Prime Engrams, Umbral Engrams, just regular Legendaries on the ground. All of those things, again, Legendary drops, Legendary Shards. Also note that when you rank up for Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit, you will get their respective engrams, and when you pick these up, you can get Legendary gear. And as you also see here, you can have the chance to get more Enhancement Cores. All of this stuff, it's going to add up. It's going to add up quick, and again, boom, 4 Legendary Shards. You're going to get that every single time you rank up. On top of just the normal drops you're getting for Legendary gear in these activities, don't forget that you're also going to be able to get your level rank ups in terms of powerful and pinnacle gear while doing these activities. For something like Crucible here, just got to complete 3 Crucible matches. So, get a pinnacle gear from that. You have 3 matches of opportunities to get Legendary gear just from your end of game normal stuff. Again, any pinnacle gear or powerful gear is going to potentially help you rank up in terms of your level, and even if it doesn't, it's Legendary gear. That means you dismantle it, boom, more Legendary Shards. And not only do you get Legendary Shards when dismantling Legendary gear, but you get Gunsmith materials, which you can then take over to Banshee, turn in some Gunsmith materials, and you get a Gunsmith engram. What is this? Another Legendary drop. Which then, you can dismantle the Legendary drop Which, to be fair, before you immediately dismantle, make sure you're checking roles. There's actually quite a few roles that people are going to want to look into for Banshee with all the world drops that he can give you. So don't just immediately dismantle, check roles. But once you dismantle, hey look, you got 4 more Legendary Shards, as well as 3 more Gunsmith materials to give back to Banshee. So this is kind of a rotating little trick here. Not even trick, just, use your Gunsmith rewards, use your Gunsmith materials, get these rewards. Quite a lot of Legendary Shards there. I have literally tens of thousands. I have 31,000 here. I have more in my vault. Again, don't expect people to have that many, but I'm sure people do have some Gunsmith materials a lot of times that they haven't been using, and this is going to get you quite a few Legendary Shards very, very quickly, as well as maybe some weapons that you may be looking for. And those are all the tips I've got for today for these 5 incredibly important materials. I hope this video helped you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the layout of this video as well, as I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about, but didn't really script this one. I wanted to make it more of a conversation versus, do this, then this, then this. So let me know what you thought about that. Let me know if this video helped you, and as always, have a wonderful day.